Ready? Call the meeting to order for Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. Roll call of members, please, Matt.
General?
Yes.
Kai?
Here.
Leaders?
Here.
Anderson?
Here.
And we'll show Stella is absent tonight. Calstrup's also absent, so it's just me.
Bill had a chance to read the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes or make corrections?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same. Motion carried. Do we have anything to do with the calendar or anything matter? Is that?
Ooh, first we gotta do election of officers.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
You wanna be the chairman again? I nominate you to be the chairman.
All right.
Second.
To get for saying no. Yes, that sounds fine.
Now you gotta call for the vote.
Oh,
See if you get the vote.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same. Motion carried.
Who's our current vice chair?
I think you are.
Oh, jeez. Karen?
I nominate Lynn.
Second.
Yeah. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thanks for volunteering, guys.
Yeah.
He who speaks first.
Right.
For the meeting schedule, we don't have to take any official action. It is just to make sure everybody is aware. We'll continue to meet on the fourth Wednesday of each month. They're highlighted in kind of the maroon color there throughout. Of course, if we have applications, as always, that's what that will remain as. And then on just the attendance rosters included every year as well for the previous year. But again, no official action has to be taken. It's just for informational purposes only for everybody.
All right. Yes, we had really good attendance last year. Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody, for showing up. Now I'll read my sheet before we start here. Per public hearing will be conducted pursuant to the board's rules of procedure as adopted May 26, 1988. We will first hear the report of the planning director on the detailed information and observations regarding the request, if not done so in written form prior to the hearing. Next, we will take testimony of the applicant and his or her witnesses. Upon completion of the applicant's testimony, I will call upon members of the audience wishing to make a statement concerning the request. Persons in favor of the request shall be heard first, followed by those who oppose it. At any time during the presentation of testimony, members of the board may interrupt to ask questions or make comments on what has been said. Upon completion of all testimony, the applicant will be allowed to make a closing statement to the board. Upon completion of the applicant's closing statement, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the request. After the public hearing has been closed, we will hear the recommendation, if any, of the planning director, and upon completion of all discussion, I'll entertain a motion from the members of the board regarding the disposition of the application. Each speaker addressing the board shall step forward to the podium, state their name and address before proceeding with their testimony or evidence, and I would ask that you spell your last name. This board shall not be bound by strict rules of evidence, but does reserve the right to exclude evidence or testimony that may deem to be irrelevant, immaterial, incompetent, or unduly repetitious. As chairman, I will rule on all questions related to the admissibility of evidence, which may be overruled by the majority of the board. The board may grant continuances in case of good cause shown to any interested party who has entered his appearance. The board may at any time request a continuance of a hearing for the purpose of giving further notice, taking further evidence, gathering further information, touring the proposed site, or for any other such reason the board may find sufficient. In such case, the board shall state the specific reasons for the continuance and set a date, time, and place when the matter will be continued. All official action of this board shall be made by public hearing, by motion made, seconded, and polling of the membership. If conditions are imposed, such conditions shall be included in the motion or amended hereto. Our final decision will be prepared in writing and will be part of the public record of this board. Once this board has reached a decision on a case, that decision shall be final. Section 335.18 of the Iowa Code states, any person or persons, jointly or severally, aggravated by any decision of the Board of Adjustment under the provisions of Chapter 335, or any taxpayer, officer, department, board, or bureau of the county may present to the court of record a petition, duly verified, setting forth that such decision was illegal in whole or in part, specifying the grounds of legality. Such petition shall be presented to the court within 30 days after the filing of the decision of the office of the board. Upon hearing that, I would
I'll make a
entertain-
motion to open case number ZV 2024-01.
Get a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Public hearing is now open. So Brian or Kristen Blum would like to come to the podium and kind of tell us what you guys have planned. And
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brian Bloom. Last name is B-L-U-M. Residence is 20527 270th Street, McClellan, Iowa, 51548. Just briefly, our request is for a variance from the maximum height limitation that applies to our residential property, which is an R1. The limitation is 22 feet, as I understand it. The building that we're proposing would come out to 28 feet in height. It's a typical pole barn, post frame type building. The height is just the result of the dimensions of the building. We needed clearance for a 14-foot overhead door so that we could store a travel trailer inside. And then the building has 1-foot eaves. So the building or the roof sticks out, and then there's a 612 pitch. We chose that so it would match our home a little better. So it's sort of just a geometry problem, as I understand it. The building's purpose is sort of mixed. Like I said, it'll be a lot of storage. We have a travel trailer, we have a side-by-side, a zero-turn mower. We're also hoping to finish some of the space. I work from home primarily, so I'd like to have a home office there, that sort of thing. I don't really have anything. Is there any questions? The one thing I would note, I don't fully understand the justification for the height limitation in an R1 zoning, but part of what I do understand is that it's partially line of sight and aesthetic purposes. And our property slopes continually away from the road down to the creek. So if we build at the proposed site, even with a 28-foot tall building, it will be much lower than our home. So if aesthetics are a consideration, I just wanted to note that for you.
Can I ask a question?
yeah. Well,
Not yet.
Oh, okay,
you need to turn here in a second. Yeah.
okay.
Right.
Just quick, do you have any idea the grade from the road to where your building's gonna sit? Do you have any idea what that?
I really don't,
Variances?
and I apologize. I didn't even consider bringing in photographs until this morning, and then
I know where it's at, so I mean,
It's got a very good
I know
grade.
how it slopes
Yeah.
down. I just didn't know if you knew how far.
No.
Okay.
And frankly, I don't even know how that is measured.
Basically, they just take a level line at the road and
Yeah, we guess
figure out how many feet.
We were wanting to put it closer to our home, but the grading was so steep that that would have been a little cost.
Down by the creek, it's flatter.
Mhm.
Okay. That's the only thing I got.
Yeah, anybody else have any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Great, all right, thank you. And now I'd ask if anyone who wants to speak in favor can come to the podium. Anybody who's opposed to it can come to the podium. Please spell your last name too, if you would.
Jay Gunther, Gunther. I'm opposed. 20579 270th Street. I'm the property owner north of where the variance is taking place. It's a substantial deviation from the code, the building height is 22 foot for an accessory unit, for an accessory building. Plot plan shows the setbacks being the same as a 22-foot height building. Do have a lot of concerns, not so much with the height of the building, is the setback. That's what I object to, being the same as the 22. Little bit about the properties. These, actually, when this was split, there were 4 properties, 3 residential, 1 still in agriculture. All the houses were completed in 2003, within about the same time frame. I've been their original owner, property north of me, original owner. Blum's moved in 4, maybe 5 years ago. On my property, I do have an accessory, secondary accessory building, measured 32 by 46. I kept my building height at 21 foot 4 inches. That's what it is. Made the, like Brian just said, matches my house plus my neighbors to the north. Full height masonry on the prevailing side, on the 270th side, wainscot height masonry going down north and south sides. Have it. Fake hip roof on the front of it to make it hippie like my roof line is, plus a gable truss to make it look like the neighbor's house. Purposely moved the setback in 34 feet. Side setback,
Okay.
side yard setback. My problem isn't so much the 28. I think Brian's actually, looking at his document, second page of it, where he's platted at, or where the applicant's platted at, 25 foot side yard setback. That 25 yard setback, or 25 foot setback, was designed max height of a 22 foot building. I'm in the commercial industrial business, construction business. Taller, more setback. Most municipalities. How that works. Actually, then just before I go through some steps, on the document of his, where he's got his elevations shown, or where the applicant's got the elevations shown, it's 28 foot 5 to the peak of the building. The structure is 28 foot 5. He actually asking for a 6 foot 5 inch variance. Sidewall is 7 foot 11 inches. Doing some real quick math, a 612 pitch on a gable truss is a 10 foot in height truss. That is from the bottom core of the truss to the peak. That's 10 foot. If you change up your truss to a 412, leaving the same height of sidewall and end walls of the 711, a 412 is height of that truss is 6 foot 8. You reduce the height by 3 foot 4 inches. You can do it on a pole barn, no problem. You go down to a 312. That truss height is 5 foot, bottom quarter truss to peak. Takes them down to 23.5. Closer to the intent of the code on the book. I do not see, looking at this height requirement and the application for a variance, the board shall have the power to hear and decide appeals for variances from specific terms of the ordinance, which will not be contrary to the public interest and where owing to a special condition of literal enforcement of the provisions of this ordinance will, in an individual case, result in unnecessary hardship, and provided that the spirit of the ordinance shall be observed, public safety and welfare secured, and substantial justice done. No variances from the terms of this ordinance shall be granted unless the board is satisfied that granting the variance is necessary to alleviate a demonstrable hardship or difficulty so as great as to warrant the variance. I don't see me wanting a 28 foot 5 structure is a hardship. You can build this building. I built my building at a certain elevation. Brian just mentioned that he's got a travel trailer. You typically need 1 foot above the head height of the door. He wanted a 14-foot door to get his travel trailer in. You can do that, 1 foot. That'd be 15-foot sidewall. That'd drop it down even more. But again, I'm not here to say, hey, don't do a height, but you're egregiously beyond the intent of the building code. And using the same setback as the 22-foot building, a setback, side yard setback of 25. There needs to be some changes on that. I have absolutely no problem with the height. The side yard setback is what I have a problem with. And then B, will not merely serve as a convenience to the applicant. You don't go in and get and apply for a variance just to have it convenient for the applicant. You actually need to try a whole bunch of different building types to make your height work, just not the first one you grab. And I don't know if he's looked at other stuff, but you can go do a pre-engineered metal building and actually have your slope half to 12, which should only be 10 inches higher than his 1711 sidewall. You can actually increase this height. The convenience of it that takes no into account monetary, how much it costs. They are a little more money than a pole barn. You can wood frame it, traditional wood frame it. Put in a lower profile truss, absolutely can. Add a center post, you can do it. There's techniques to do it. There's different types of building that can be done. C, will not impair the general purpose and intent of the regulations and provisions contained in this ordinance. You know, the purpose of the regulations is to promote orderly, uniform development and maintain safety in the community. This variance is entirely inconsistent with the purpose of the uniform development, as it is in excess of 27% of allowable height. This is a significant departure from the regulations and provisions contained in the ordinance. Under D of section 8.096.030.02 of the county code. Again, on the north I'm adjacent to the north where this action is trying to take place. Section D will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent properties. I can tell you, if you put a 22-foot wall up compared to a 28-foot wall, it's casting shadow. Earlier, it's blocking my natural light.
Can you show me where you are on this?
Absolutely. I'm directly north.
To the north.
Right next to the store.
Okay.
Yep. And also kind of in letter D there, paragraph D, I'm worried about water runoff. A 28-foot 5 height, shedding water. Last year, the year before, I'd love to take his water. But maybe not next year, thereafter. That's a lot of water. Water runoff is huge in my business. Again, general contractor, commercial industrial work, we deal with it constantly. It is a big deal. That's why I request that this setback gets increased, or simply move it to the south lot, to their south boundary. The neighbor on the south boundary is a cornfield 1 year, following year it's a bean field, so on and so forth. That's where I'm at. I just don't even see how this meets a hardship, why it'd be here in front of this board. I mean, a hardship is
sorry to interrupt you, just had a question quick.
Yeah.
It sounds like I'm hearing that setback from the side yard is a big issue for you.
Big issue.
Hypothetically, what kind of a setback are you more comfortable with, just as a?
Let me include this as well. Brian's just not gonna put his post on bare ground, he's gonna be building a building pad, right? He's gonna be grading a building pad, adding dirt. So this height of 28.5, I'm assuming is gonna be plus 2 foot, almost 28 inches to make the flow work. Plus, still bring that building pad to the north towards the property line. So you're gonna be at 30 foot. Most municipalities in the area require you with an elevator when you get to a certain height. You know, not so much in this condition, but depending on what the usage is, absolutely. I would ask for it being at least 45 to 50 foot push to the south. Even 40 foot. Here's kind of if I could pass this over.
But I just want to clarify, on the setback, the part that you're saying isn't exactly true to what the county setbacks are. If they were to, let's say that the Plums were to go with a 22-foot high storage building in their rear yard, they're behind the back line of the house, county code allows you to be 4 feet from your sideline.
Right.
And 4 feet from your rear line. So being at 25 feet, proposed site from where they are, they're 19 feet further in on the property than where if they were to lower back down to that 22 feet, they could build that thing 4 feet off the sideline.
Could I ask you to show that to me?
Yeah,
Where that code is?
yeah, it's in the county code. So accessory buildings and structures, it's section 8.004.090. 0.02, detached accessory buildings may be erected and provided below, and letter B of that, such buildings erected in the rear yard shall not be located closer than 4 feet to any property line, and corner lots shall also comply with setbacks of those side yards as well.
Okay, but why is that in this code?
It's in the accessory building section, which you don't have printed out there in front of you, but it's in chapter 8, in
Okay.
accessory building sections.
Well, then I guess I'm still objecting to the height of the building. It's way beyond, it is way beyond what's allowed to build here in this lot as an accessory building. But again, if this was moved, side yard setback further over, I would withdraw my objection. I really would. I don't mind progress in bigger buildings, I really don't. I mean, that's the business I'm into. But I don't think a hardship has been shown. You can do different type of building. You don't have to do a wood post frame building. There are tons of different buildings you can use.
Okay. All right, Jay, thanks for your time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
There's nobody else here to speak against. There's no other discussion from the board members. I would ask for a motion to close public hearing.
We want to see if they want,
Do
you guys want to come
closing
back up
statement?
and have a
Yeah,
response
just
to that, or?
In the interest of neighborly cohesion, we would be happy to consider a larger setback if the board finds that a requirement. Mr. Gunther is an avid gardener. I can recognize that sunlight is a key ingredient to that process, so I wouldn't want to limit his availability to some night, so, we'd be happy to consider moving the building if we need to.
You're talking side back or step back?
The side,
Side setback.
Side,
Move it closer to the south, away from the border or the boundary with his property.
Appreciate that, Brian.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
Second,
second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carried, public hearing is now closed. As for the recommendation from staff,
Our recommendation is to approve the application subject to the following conditions, that the proposed building setback should be a minimum of 25 feet from the side yard and 50 feet from the rear yard. Based on the following findings of fact, number one is that the applicant's lot size is sufficient to support the proposed structure. The property is not in a platted subdivision. The subject building is not going to be used for any commercial activities. The aforementioned facts reduce the potential visual and aesthetic impacts and line of sight for which the height restriction was adopted.
What's the sidewall height? I'm having trouble reading on the.
17 and some change.
1711,
Yes.
is that right?
As I understand it.
And there is, I did pull up the 2-foot contours. So from the road down to that proposed site, there's a 30-foot drop in elevation.
I know it's a long way. Matt, why do you have why are you proposing a 50-foot setback from the back? Is it just because the creek's back there, or why is that your recommendation? I mean, not that
No,
it
it's
makes any
100
difference, I just didn't know.
Yeah, it's 186 feet, I believe, proposed right now from that rear line. And
I didn't know if maybe
I don't
they
know.
would consider pushing it back further, because, I mean, looking at the lot, and I know, because I've driven by there many, many times, but, you know, maybe they could push it back a little bit further too. Well, and I guess there's plenty, they're not anywhere close to the 50 foot anyway,
No,
so,
no.
okay, never mind.
yeah, that's kind of
Um,
obsolete at that point.
yeah, you're right. Yeah. The center of the creek is probably 50 foot,
Mm.
and the banks are probably 70 foot out.
Yeah.
Tell me about where we're at in the building process. Nothing has started yet?
Just to clarify, there is, the building itself nothing is done. We had a gravel drive put down to the area to accommodate the construction vehicles.
Okay.
So some of that would be taken out if we moved it south.
What do you guys think? I mean, I think we just figure out a distance to move it to the south and move it to the south. Let everybody be happy.
yeah, and I'm not, exactly for sure if how that lays back there, but it looks like that would work fine too.
It
But,
slopes down a lot.
I don't know, then I guess that would be up to the applicant if they want to
Yeah.
do that or not, I guess, we could do that, and,
I mean, we could decide on a distance, I guess, and make that part of the recommendation.
This one's a tough one. I can see, you live next to an agricultural property and they can zoned agricultural, and they can do whatever they want. You can have a giant building next to you. It is part of being in the rural community, but it is R1, and I can appreciate that. This is probably one that if there was not an opposition, I would say, likely, yeah, go for it. But it is a little bit harder for me to make that call with some opposition, especially a neighbor. I think if we can come up with a setback distance that can keep everybody, happy and civil, I'm sure that you guys are gonna be neighbors for a long time. So that's the most important thing here.
That's the way I feel about it, and I think,
I think we propose it with a 35-foot setback to the north. It's more than the 25, it's less than 50, I understand, but
I thought 50 would be a good distance, but that's just my thought.
I'm open to suggestion, just throwing.
And I understand the height variance, because sometimes in the R1, you may have, you know, you might not have this type of situation where it slopes down from the road.
Yeah.
And you may have a house, the neighbor's house, that sits pretty close to the lot line, and then you've got somebody that wants to come in and build a building 4 foot from the lot line, and that makes a big difference, so.
I do think that's what's hard about that R1 district is that there are platted subdivisions. I imagine, so it was done, you look back in the code, when was this established? Why was it established? Why did they come up with this thing? It was back in 2004. You know, you have this large R1 district that was established out there that encompasses some platted subdivisions where houses are right on top of each other. And so they're trying to figure out, well, how do you keep from?
And I think that's what it was designed for,
Mm-hmm.
basically, is for where you've got more houses packed on top of each other. And
Yeah.
you
So
don't wanna just look at somebody's
when they've
wall of their building.
when they've come in and asked for it in platted subdivisions before, this board historically has denied those ones in the platted subdivisions, but outside of the platted subdivisions,
Been on those.
with increased setbacks, then, has been allowed.
Well, Karen?
What would you feel comfortable with? I mean, he said 30, he said 50, well, you know, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah,
You wanna get along.
I don't have, frankly, our goal was to preserve as much of the interior. We have small children, you know, playing and that sort of thing, but I don't have strong feelings about distance, frankly. We would have put it on the south boundary, it's just that the approach for vehicle traffic wouldn't work. You would end up needing to drive to the center of the property, and I don't have any concerns at 50 feet. I don't know exactly where that would be, but it's just gonna be a little awkward in the middle of the property, but.
Yeah.
I don't know, what do you think? I don't wanna speak for you.
I think that's fine.
Mr. Gunther, what do you think about 50 foot?
Yeah, honestly, I'm thinking more 40, 45, honestly, 50 foot, but I'm thinking that 40 foot range, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna make a motion to make the setback 40 feet from the north property line. Approve the height variance, but amend the setback on the north side to be 40 feet.
We got a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
No roll call vote.
make it official.
Leaders,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes,
Kai,
Yes.
Jennifer.
Yes. The applicant has been approved with the amended 40-foot setback in the side lot, so thank you for coming tonight.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have no more business than that? or-
No other business.
All right, you got a second?
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.